On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we are talking about Star Trek Picard 306, The Bounty, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on two lifelong friends chat about Star Trek. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson. Hey.
Hey, buddy. You seem very excited. I am, too. This is a really fun episode.
This was such a good episode.
Yeah, and just getting to see the shipyard was, enough to, and they set it against these, great conversations they're having about, legacy and then about family and all. It's so many great, real human things happening. Mm-hmm. The real character moments set against the backdrop. It reminded me of every time we've seen a ship in Star Trek for the first time, they do those slow move-arounds, Yeah, man. Except with more going on. More actual characters having conversations while we get those moments. It was awesome. It was really awesome.
It was. I loved it. I was so excited that in commercial breaks, I was on Twitter just looking at the latest Star Trek Picard comments and stuff. Mm-hmm. Already, I saw unbridled excitement. There were a couple of people who were like, "This is fan service," and I'm like, "I am a fan. Service me."
Yeah, it is a little ridiculous fan service, but I loved it. It's great.
I didn't see anything that was over the top fan service necessarily. It's
a little contrived. The entirety of this plot is a little contrived to get these 7 people on the ship together. You know what I mean? It's definitely it's how they did it in Generations, where they all get together for a wedding or whatever. That's a little more
Nemesis.
Realistic. Okay. Oh no. Yeah, you're right. The other was I forget Generations what they're doing, walking the plank or something. I don't know. Whatever's happening in that thing.
That was they were promoting Worf.
That's right.
And that was a ceremony for him.
Yeah. See, things like those weddings, it kind of makes sense. You get all 7 people together for one reason. This does feel a little I'm not upset about it. I'm fine with it. You got to do it somehow. But it's everybody has their own very specific reason they need to be in the story. But it's it could be anyone. But of course, it's going to be the 7 crew members of the Enterprise.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they did it though on the original Trek movies, because they'd be well, Sulu's captaining his own ship, and Chekhov, Chekhov was in some other place in almost every movie, and somehow he winds up back on the Enterprise. Oh yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm just saying, I get why people are it's a little fan wanky, because it is, especially James T. Kirk's body being in the Daystrom station, which they've laid the groundwork now. They could bring back William Shatner as James T. Kirk, elderly. They absolutely could.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For a second, when they said they stole human remains, I was like, are we going there? Are we bringing James T. Kirk into this for the final Picard moments? Oh, man.
Yeah, it did. Well, it occurred to me that because what's her face, Vadic said, bring me everyone who's ever mattered to Picard or whatever, and I was like, man, they have Kirk's corpse. She could go back for that too and just be like, guess what, bitch? Shatner. But yeah, and to me, the Picard, the fact that they stole Picard's body, I keep forgetting he's in a positronic body, so I'm
sure.
How could they have stolen? Did they clone Picard at some point? But then I was like, oh shit, no, he has
That's
a dead body,
his actual dead body, and they could use it to, I'm assuming, just learn to take his form, but I don't think they would need it to do that. Mm-mm. So you do something with reanimating it. Are we gonna get actual human Picard against positronic Picard?
Did they steal his body and use it to clone a duplicate Jack?
Well, yeah, but they'd need both Crusher and Picard to do that.
I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out something.
I have no idea. That's the thing, is all this stuff's going on. I have no idea what their plot is here. The fact that they stole Picard's body, I mean, at least that ties the story together a little bit with Jack. Like, they clearly want something from these guys. Maybe the Uromatic syndrome causes, like we talked about last week, and maybe there's some sort of connection that they need, like, between the 8472 and the changelings. The other thing that we heard from Vatic this episode was, that was just a theory, by the way. We were talking about the 8472 last week. I'm just saying, in case people didn't listen last week, and I'm just like throwing 8472 in there. But we heard something in Jack's brain say "connect us."
Yeah.
We also heard this episode. Vatic talks about how we will be one
united
again. We will be in unity
united
again.
Yeah.
We will be at peace again. I'm wondering if something is wrong with the changelings, and they aren't able to form the link for some reason, or something like that. You know, they're not able to link up, and something with this Uromatic syndrome allows them to like communicate, or somehow, like, because maybe they tried to use Picard's body and then couldn't because it's dead. Or whatever, like, they couldn't revive it, they couldn't do what they needed to do, and then they went for the next person that was likely to have Uromatic syndrome. And then we get this thing of, like, the Uromatic syndrome ends up being something to be helpful in the storyline or something like that.
Yeah, because I don't think the Uromatic syndrome is the reason he's hearing Beverly say "connect us" and shit.
No.
Some of the visions he's having are too specific.
Yeah, and the fact that he killed 4 changelings and knew they were changelings, that was weird. Yeah.
That's a good theory, man. I like the idea that the Uromatic syndrome has something to do with what they're after. What they're after. That's very interesting. I mean, we were already told that they were basically outcasts. They like left the changeling homeworld and went off on their own for revenge.
Yeah. What if that revenge was because, like, maybe that disease they gave the founders, you know? They talked about that a lot this episode. So I was thinking, like, what if that disease that they gave the founders made certain ones of them not be able to link again? Or something like that. Like, this faction that we're seeing isn't just mad at Starfleet. They have a reason to be mad because that, like, disease affected them in a worse way than the others.
That's a good point. That's, you know, Terry Metalis has said that they are very different. They are, you know, he has pointed out, like, it seems like there is something weird going on with them.
Like, she's got a lot of, like, cracks in her face and stuff, Vatic does. And then these others...
well, she's also a smoker, so...
She also said to these her henchmen or whatever, she said something, she called them, like, formless or something like that. And I'm wondering if they just have, like... What if they're, like, I don't know... They're like the children of people who had the disease or something like that, like, they were never able to link. They were never able to form properly. They were never able to, like, use their abilities like they're supposed to be able to. You remember how frustrating that was for Odo? Like, not being able to be around other changelings, not being able to, like, he would, like, practice for days being a chair, you know, stuff like that. Like, it was part of his training as a changeling. And, like, what if something about the disease caused, like, these guys, she called them formless and we haven't seen their faces. What if they're just, like, you know, not able to be solid completely or something like that?
And you know what? And it was one of my favorite lines of the episode was Riker saying, "How much of that goo shit did they pour into you?"
And that one freaked out and hit him. And it was like, maybe they're sensitive. Like, maybe there's a reason. Like, that would be really cool and humanizing for the villain if, like, we find out they're all, like, deformed changelings because of their disease that was spread among them, and they're, like, out for revenge because they were outcast from their society.
That's a really good call. By the way, I totally should have known that it was Picard that they went there to nab, because Kirk's body is total foreshadowing.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Oh.
You know, we talked a lot last week about the books, The Return, and all those books. And in those books, they take the body of Kirk and turn it into a Borg. And, like, you can imagine if there are these characters that have all these Starfleet secrets that are like legendary characters that you can imagine they want to like protect the remains from any like outside sources getting a hold of them and using them in some sort of, nefarious way.
Yeah. Man, I love the return of Data. I just do.
Better than the return of Data, it's the return of this new character. Brent Spiner's always talking about how he doesn't want to come back and do the same thing again and all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is a version I could really get behind. Like, basically, like Data with DID. You know what I mean? Moon Knight Data, where he like he like has to learn to like. We always wanted him and Lore to be able to like, somehow become brothers, but like Lore was just always just such a trickster. What if now they're in the same body and they have to learn to be a part of one another and like learn to work together to solve all the to save themselves? And that's like I could totally see a Star Trek Data that like follows that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
literally Data Moon Knight, and just like do it, man. That sounds great. And just I loved when Spiner got the chance to transform between the three versions. Yeah. I'm really curious to see Lal, if he'll like produce a version of Lal the way he's doing with these other three.
Yeah, man, I'm just so excited. I'm so freaking pumped for it. I loved everything about this episode, man. I love that they stole the cloaking device from the HMS Bounty or whatever they called it. The Bounty from Star Trek 4.
Oh, man, for a second I thought they were going to get on the Bounty. And we were going to see, like, the bridge from Star Trek 4 and everything, and they were going to fly in on the Bounty. I was so there for it.
Man, they even had some of the score from Star Trek 4, and I was just like, yeah!
That's awesome. It's so good. I thought it was going to be the Defiant, because that had a cloaking device.
That would have been smarter to grab from the Defiant.
Yeah, as soon as they were talking about... Which, that was a temporary treaty with the Klingons, so they could do it during the Dominion War, so it's possible it doesn't have it anymore. So that's my headcanon.
Well, it was a treaty with the Romulans.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Because the Klingons were allies.
Yeah, that's right. I was thinking it was Klingons because they were allies. But when they were on their way to the Fleet Museum, I was like, I wonder if they'll get the Defiant. That would make a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. And then the first one they showed was the Defiant, and I was like, oh, I called it. And then they didn't get the Defiant.
Yeah.
Use the Bounty's cloaking device.
You would think the cloaking device on the Defiant would be more technologically in line with...
Yeah. Which is why I think my headcanon is they had to have it removed after the Dominion War. And the Defiant, that's just...
maybe.
Of course, you'd think the Klingons would want their cloaking device back from the Bounty, too. Like, if that's the case. Yeah, probably not. Yeah, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense that they've got the Bounty sitting there with a cloaking device on it.
Yeah, but hook or by crook, I was happy for how they did it. And... oh, man. It was good to see those old cats again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited. It was the best, we've talked about Brent Spiner these last couple of seasons, and I just didn't like what they did with Data in the first season. The second season, I just didn't like Brent Spiner's acting. And
it was a little rough, yeah.
I didn't like that Soong. I didn't like him at all. But just the moment of him, like, reliving these old characters... and being Data, being like the curl of his lip when he became Lore, I was just like, oh, that's Lore, all right. Like, fully there, man.
Yeah, dude, like, I was kind of happy, honestly, that no one was here. Because...
were you crying like I was crying?
No.
Different parts?
No, I wasn't.
Or did you have yourself a real fan wank?
As Riker is identifying... the music, I was already like...
Pop goes the weasel.
Dude, I was like hitting the couch going, Pop goes the fucking weasel! Pop goes the... I was so excited.
Yeah.
Because I already knew, and then they did that like flashback, that great flashback. That's the first
episode, right?
Yes, Encounter at Farpoint.
Encounter at Farpoint.
And it looked so good.
It really looked great.
They made it look so good. I don't know if it was them making it look good or if it was the remasters that they did a couple years ago. but it looked so good. And it didn't look out of place. It didn't look, cheesy 80s TV show. It looked cinematic. And I was really just like, I was like, oh my God. First, I'm excited because it seems like Moriarty was just like a thing from Data's head.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the Crow. And I was like, and I was so excited because I feel like, and maybe it's still in there somewhere in a future episode. I'm so excited that we're getting more than just Moriarty and Lore teamed up. Like,
right.
I wasn't terribly excited, especially with like such a strong first half of the season. I was like, are we really like dragging Moriarty into this? And I think like I assumed that yes, it was a distraction, like Worf was saying, and the thing they were really stealing was Lore and Moriarty.
Right. Yeah. I thought that too. That's what we've talked about that. I really thought that was like, I thought at least Lore was what they stole from there, and maybe Moriarty would come in at some point too.
That would have been fine. But I am so excited to get something different than what I
expected or whatever.
Like I called
something better. I would even say.
I think so, or at least something with the potential to be better.
Right. So many times we've thought of ideas and we're just bummed they don't do them. So the fact that you're excited they're doing something different is exciting.
Yeah.
The like sort of resurrection of Data is so cool because I hate the way Data went out in season 1. I hate it with a passion. It was like the opposite of the Data character. I didn't like it. And now it's just some weird alternate Data that we saw for a minute. You know what I mean? Like that had to live in that simulation for too long and needed to go. But now we're going to get to see our old friend Data, who's just been on pause for 40 years, and we're going to get him back. It's so,
which is what I love, and it's weird because, and it's strange to equate this, but I was thinking about it when I was watching the episode right before this episode dropped. I was watching season 2, episode 5 of The Vow, which is a documentary series about NXIVM, the NXIVM cult.
Right.
And that episode deals specifically with a girl named Danielle, or Daniela, something like that. And she was, she kissed somebody, and like the cult leader who she was having sex with got so angry with her, he basically like had all of her papers, because she was an immigrant. He took all of her papers, and they made her stay in a room for 2.5 years.
Oh,
just a single room with nothing going on. Like there was nothing in there for her to indulge herself until she, I can't remember how they put it now, but until she basically repented adequately. She had to write letters to him every day. But anyway, it was really rough, really kind of messed with me a little bit. But as I'm watching this episode and thinking about Data, Data was also trapped in a room, and just looking at like how that affected a person in real life. Right. I was just thinking like, of course he would be ready to go. Of course he would.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot, and
it just made me think of that as well.
And that's possible. It just always felt like that's just such a shitty way for Data to go out. That it just made me so sad. And so the fact that that's now just like now it's just a sad story about an alternate Data that got trapped. You know what I mean? And now we get a different Data that at least has big chunks of Data, chunks of Soong, chunks of Lol, chunks of Lore, chunks of B4. Like it's gonna be great. I'm excited.
It's one of those lessons that I wish I could impart to every director, showrunner, whomever. There's no good way to kill a favorite. Every once in a while, you get Tony Stark in Endgame.
Right.
Every once in a while.
I don't think that's true. I think there are definitely ways to kill favorites. I think Generations is a great way for James T. Kirk to go out.
You are in the minority.
Oh, I think it's great.
People hate that shit because he died for a civilization we never even saw. They said that there were like 2 billion, 2 million, whatever it was, people on this planet. We never saw a single Viridian.
Right.
It was a lackluster thing that resulted in a joke that Star Trek fans have been saying for years, Bridge on the Captain.
Right.
Which is funny, but it's not fair.
It's not about that though. Like, I agree.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. I think in Generations they definitely should have showed us the Viridians. We should have known some of them. We should have known ones with families there, whatever. That would have been better. But Kirk chose to go out because he didn't want to live a life of simulation. He would rather go and continue the fight. And I think that's great. And like, he dies passing the torch to a new captain of the Enterprise. Like, it's just really, it's nice. I love Generations, and I love the way he goes out. Like, sure, whatever. I think that joke is fine, but like, I don't think it diminishes the movie.
I will say that, I'll recant just a little bit and say we are in the minority because I really enjoy Generations. It has its flaws. And I do think we should have seen Viridians and gotten a little more invested in what Kirk was dying for. But it's kind of one of those things where you're like, Kirk should not have died anywhere but on the bridge of his ship. It's like there are certain, and a huge portion of the fandom feels like that was a completely lackluster way for Kirk to go out.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to craft a worthy death for an icon.
Well, I agree. It's very hard. I just don't think it's possible. And I think Generations is a version of that works. But we have a chance to bring him back, man. And the 1701A is sitting right there in the shipyard, man. I say to everyone, to the heavens, to the universe, to Terry Metalis, please no. Do not bring Shatner back. I'm on board, man. I'm on board.
Don't bring him back, man. Let him rest in peace. Which Shatner did recently say that he probably wouldn't do a Star Trek Picard style Kirk series. Which probably means he's talked to them about it and pitched it to them, and they said, "How much do you want?" And he gave them a number, and they were like, "No."
Yeah. I think if anything, if he were to come back, it would probably be like an episode. I doubt they would do a full series with him.
Yeah. No,
he's 92. Like, I don't know. Just like, I could definitely see them, like, if they continue, this group of people that we're meeting now. I love this crew. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to steer us to this entire conversation because as much as I love all this fan wank and all the fun stuff that's happening, I love the heart of this episode, which is Geordi and his family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're really the heart of this episode. Sydney, I love Sydney and Jack together. Like, they're sort of just playing off each other. I love Geordi telling him to stay away from his daughter. It's super fun, man. It's all great. And Geordi, like, being guilted by his young, impetuous daughter to get into the fight, it's good stuff, man. It's great.
I loved all of that. I loved Picard's struggle with passing on the Irumodic syndrome to Jack.
Mm-hmm.
All of it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, it really was.
Dude, one of the things I loved was, like, they really let Riker kind of off the leash this episode as well. Like, you could just see him being sort of like, I don't know, like almost like Lobo or the comedian or something.
Yeah,
from
he was
like
real jokey this episode, which I honestly thought was a little over the line in a couple places.
No. Like, it was like he was getting beat the shit out of, and he's just like cracking jokes, and I don't know, man. Something about it is like, this is the heart of Will Riker. This is like the part of his personality that in Thomas Riker became a Maquis. Like, there's definitely like a darkness to Will Riker and like a swashbuckling cavalier piece of shit that I adore. And I would love to see, even when he sees Deanna in the jail and she's just like, "Oh, Will." It almost feels like she's not even doing it saying that because like he got them into trouble. It's just like, you just said the thing and got another punch, dude. You know better than that. Like, how much of that goo shit, whatever it was, did they pour into you?
Yeah,
I loved it. I just loved it.
Well, it's also, he left his family, apparently. We've discussed it. We don't know exactly why, but he's on bad terms. And we've talked about maybe he got a taste for, like, the fun of the universe again after his jaunt in season 1. Season 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Season 2 is weirdly, like, it's so out of, because it's out of time and everything, it's so out of the plot of what's going on here that I'm like, wait, what was season 2 then, if that was season 1? Anyway, we talked about maybe that's his motivation, and you also, like, you see his wife, like, finally sees him, and he's just beat up and imprisoned and, like, you know, at the edge of a gun, and, like, she's like, oh, Will, this is the life you wanted to go back to right here, you know? It's great.
And I love that. Like, that makes it, like, the jokes and stuff that he's telling even better, because it's like, even, like, all the conversation with Worf, everything with Worf, and he's like, it used to be fun to do this. Like, you used to poke back. What happened to you? Like, he's just like, he's dying for that old chemistry and, like, just like that thrill of adventure. Even after he thought that they were going to die, he's still there and he's still kind of enjoying this.
Yeah. No, man, I love it. It's such a great episode. This is my favorite episode so far. It really is because of the fan wank, though. Like, the episode itself, I love the Geordi stuff and I love the Aromatic Syndrome stuff, but that's the real, like, heart of the episode. The rest is just like, let's grab all the toys and show them on screen and, like, show all the ships and show the cool Daystrom Easter eggs and bring every crew member back, you know. Ugh. Do we know if Guinan's coming back this season?
I don't know.
Okay.
Someone, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, someone said that they needed to see Diana Mulder as Pulaski in this season.
Right.
And Terry Metalis posted a picture of, like, the changeling goo creature and said, maybe we have already. And I was like, whoa, dude, that's mean. Because he's already said she's not coming back. So, like,
what? Okay,
that's kind of hateful, man.
What's hateful? I don't get. Is it a joke? Is he?
I think he's like, because no one likes Pulaski, so, or almost, like, most of the fan base hates Pulaski. So I'm wondering if that's what he's talking about. If he's like, you know, he shows like a demonic looking changeling goo creature and says maybe like she already has.
Saying she looks like that? Is that what you're getting at?
I guess.
I don't see, that's the thing. I don't get the joke, so I don't even know what he means. So it's hard for me to say he's being mean.
A ton of people enjoyed the joke. A few of us were like, that might be too much. That was mean.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure
if that's
what the joke is.
That's very mean. But it's hard to even know. That feels weird. Okay, well, anything else in this episode that you want to talk about? Because it is late, and I'm going to go to bed. But I'm glad we got to talk about this tonight, and I'm sure we will be doing a feedback episode again this week. Hit us up at StarTrekUcast@gmail.com, and we'll do a feedback episode this week. Lots of fun things to talk about here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's more. I'll beat Stu to the punch and say they sure are getting their money's worth out of that 10 forward set. But yeah, all around, I just really enjoyed this episode, and I just want to see more. I loved everything between Worf and Riker. I loved all of the family stuff with Geordi. It hit for me on so many different levels, and I don't need this kind of fan wank in every episode, but I adored it here. And
yeah.
Oh, I do need to mention this because why not? Terry Metalis said that if they were to do a spinoff, he already knows it's going to be called Star Trek Legacy. And that's the hashtag we need to use to beg Paramount for more. So,
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, do that. Star Trek Legacy. I am all on damn board. I want more of that.
I want more of this show. I want more of these. I want more of these characters that we've met. I love Sydney. I love Jack. I liked Sydney's sister as well, which I forget her name. Alira or something like that.
No, it was something. But I think that was actually his real life daughter.
His real life daughter. Yeah. So I really just enjoyed everybody, and with all these connections to the Legacy crew, you could easily have lots of guest spots and stuff from them. I don't know if we need more of like these kinds of shows that are about the Legacy characters, but I would love to see more of them, in a show about whatever crew we have.
I think we're going to get more because honestly, I will watch Star Trek when it drops, and I will be on Twitter. I have never seen so much positive feedback, so much excitement. Not since this new Star Trek started up with Discovery.
Yeah,
I have never seen it like that before.
Yeah,
like this season has been killing it.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. This is, I think, the most like the Trek I've wanted to see, since they've come back with Discovery. I like the other shows, but like this is the most like what I want to see. This is like the most exciting stuff for me. And there was a line in here, I believe it was Geordi that was talking about, who was it? Help me out. He was talking about Legacy. It might have been Geordi. Oh no, it was Aldous Soong. That's who it was.
Okay. Alton.
Okay. Alton Soong in the holographic thing was talking about how Legacy was important, and he used to think he wanted to like put himself in a body, but he's like, that's not Legacy. Legacy is like creating something new and being a part of it, but not like not remaining in it or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that made me think that was almost like a nod to the idea that Star Trek needs to create new characters and move forward. They can't just always make the Legacy. I don't know. It seemed like that was like almost a deliberate lampshade on that.
Yeah, I think so. And I loved all of that. I am just over the moon with this episode. And honestly, even if this season falls flat on its ass or flat on its face, however you want to put it, and they don't stick the landing, I think I'm happy with what we got.
Yeah.
Like, they can do no wrong for me at this point. They can, and I'll bitch about it on the show.
Right.
But also with the understanding that they did fucking right by me for 6 episodes, solidly right by me.
Yeah, and have set up so many new characters and so many interesting things in Star Trek, like in the 25th century. Like, it's just everything I've been wanting to see. And so many relationships that I want to see more of, And
man, Jack, like, sitting in the center seat and being like, I'm just trying it on. Like,
yeah.
Your ass is joining Starfleet.
Oh, yeah.
if you survive.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's about it for us tonight. We're going to be back in a few days with a feedback episode, so send in that feedback, StarTrekUcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much, guys. Jolon True.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.